I've been eating out my family every night. I think they're starting to like it. I don't know how it started, but the first urge I had was after a night of drinking and partying. I usually trust my girlfriend, so when she brought me an unknown pill, I took it not thinking anything bad would happen to me. The pill was very small and generic, and I felt nothing different. Maybe Tyler, the friend who brought the pill, was just messing with us. The hangover that next morning was like no other. I started by drinking lots of water and taking a cold bath, but I still had to leave for my classes that day. My body felt heavy, my head felt terrible, and my mouth felt dry. But I first realized that something was extremely wrong when I went to work later that day. On arriving at work, everything felt so loud and bright. I had to ask my best friend from work to cover for me while I took a nap in the back room. I dreamed I was eating her hand in a customer's face. I thought it was funny. Working in retail is stressful enough to cause this kind of subconscious ideas. I finally got home, feeling immensely thankful for having someone else to cook for me. I would starve or spend too much in takeout if I lived alone. After dinner, I decided to go to bed early with an extra large bottle of water and a handful of aspirins. I slept for a few hours until I woke up feeling terribly hungry. No, terribly hungry doesn't even begin to describe how it felt. It was like I never knew what food was before. Like I had lived years in absolute starvation and nothing in the world was more important or more urgent than eating. Eating real food. Eating something alive with warm blood still pulsating inside it. The house was quiet and very dark, but I suddenly had eyes so well adjusted that I could see perfectly during the night. Maybe even better than I could before in the light. Everyone was asleep, but I distinctly heard 3 heartbeats other than mine, and they sounded delicious. I started by my younger sister, Bethany. She always kept her leg out of the blanket, so I snatched that first. I was so hungry and so fast she didn't even wake up while I feasted on her. I knew it was so wrong, horribly wrong, but I just couldn't resist the urge. She was like baby beef, small and full of fat. The taste was sickeningly sweet, but in my crazed state, I barely noticed the horror of what I was doing. Before I could even think about stopping, I was all done. I devoured the entire thing, yet I was still not full. So I moved on to my parents' bedroom. Dad was thin and had been muscular during his younger years, so his meat was surely tough. I started by Mom, chubby and tender. In the back of my mind, I had the sense that they were my family, but it was a fact that didn't matter. I was starving and they were there. It was only natural that I would feed on their irresistible flesh. The only important thing was eating. Dad woke up when I was eating Mom's last leg. He had always been a light sleeper. I was being careless and messy, so the wall and part of the bed was completely tainted by her blood. As soon as I sensed Dad opening his eyes, I quickly jumped on him, suffocating his surprised cries with my bloodied hand. Mom didn't completely satisfy my hunger, but I was feeling better. I carefully teared through Dad's belly, eating only the juicier parts. After eating all 3, I went back to bed, acting like nothing ever happened. Maybe I would wake up feeling like having a little leftover snack. Or maybe I would wake up as normal again. This hunger, this speed, and these sharp senses were too new for me, so I didn't know what to expect. In fact, I barely acknowledged them. Everything felt natural, like it had always been this way. I went back to bed and slept until morning. For a glorious moment, I almost laughed it off like it was just a weird and realistic dream. However, I soon noticed that my face, hands, and pajamas were drenched in blood and screamed. "What happened, dear?" Mom came running to my bedroom, very alive. "What the hell, Brendan?" I didn't know what to say. I had no explanation for this, especially because she was alive. I had just devoured her, but she stood in front of me like nothing happened. She was completely intact, not even a bruise on her body, yet I was still covered in blood. Dad and Bethany came running to see what was going on. They were alive as well, despite the fact that I could still feel their metallic taste. Once delicious, it made me nauseous now. "Ew, did someone have their period on your face?" Bethany mocked me. She was getting sassier every day. "Shut up, Beth, your brother is hurt," Dad scolded her. I ended up saying it was a terrible nosebleed because I'd been sleepwalking and got hurt. I also said I was feeling sick and it wasn't a lie. I looked awful. So Mom let me spend the day in bed. It was terrifying remembering how I tore apart my family's flesh. I puked more than 10 times during the day. Every time Mom brought me something to eat or Bethany checked on me, I couldn't help but cry. I felt disgusted, and scenes containing their dismembered, bloodied bodies flashed on my mind again and again, too real, like I was reliving them every time. But it didn't stop me from waking up during the dawn again, feeling an unbearable urge to eat my whole family alive. And I did. I chewed them to the bones one more time, and the night after, and the night after. They were always alive when I woke up the next day, no matter how brutally I dilacerated their bodies. After 4 nights being eaten alive, I noticed my family started to change. By morning, all 3 of them looked worn out. Their skin was dry and grayish, and they had giant brown circles under their eyes. They seemed very under the weather, but nothing different happened. I ate them again that night. I should have tried to do something to restrain myself or tie my own body to the bed, but I knew I was amazingly strong when I woke up hungry. I knew nothing would stop me from feeding on human flesh. The next day, Mom, Dad, and Bethany looked worse, grayer, slower, and generally creepier. Their skin looked like it was about to crumble and turn to ashes. They moved heavily, mechanically, tiredly. "Mom," Bethany said like she was in slow motion, "I don't feel good. I'm not going to school today." "I don't feel good either," Dad said in a grave and distorted voice. "Let's just rest." My mother's voice was creepily sluggish as well. Unlike them, I never felt better. The feelings of guilty had disappeared, my skin was glowing, and my body was full of energy. Mom slowly turned her head to look at me, probably to ask if I felt ill too. But it was like she forgot how to use her body. Her neck spun a little too much and her flesh ripped off. You could see the muscles underneath. but instead of the normal color, they showed a sickly shade of purple. Neither Dad nor Bethany showed any kind of reaction. Very slowly, Mom readjusted her head in the right angle, using both hands. Her face was an expressionless mask, like pain was something that belonged to a distant past. "I'm so hungry. Hungry for real food." "I'm hungry too," Dad and Beth echoed like the creepiest choral. That night, I didn't wake up feeling hungry, but they did. They were by the side of my bed, begging me to feed them. So that's my situation now. I was turned into some kind of monster and ate 3 people, my family, alive. After 5 days, I completely drained their vitality. Now they need to feed on others.